actually on that with Courtney's, trust my intuition. Yeah. So that's actually a perfect little segue there, is that the whole, I'll go more deeper into it, but ultimately I see it as, and the work that I've kind of been very entrenched in is the work of William Whitecloud, Natural Secrets of Success. I've done his whole curriculum and all his programs, and I just absolutely loved his body of work because it was really so simple. It was what is unconscious, what is conscious, and then what is the super conscious, which allows us to go beyond everything. And I had this huge aha moment when I started doing his work, because it was as simple as you're either in your identity trying to prove your beliefs and everything, or you're in your heart and you're in your intuition. And you're born into like ultimately the wrong track in life, because we're living off our belief systems, just quite asleep to who we are. And then we wake up to this intuitive wisdom, but often it's then counterintuitive, often in conflict for our belief systems. And so we have to learn to unlearn some of these beliefs that we've had for a lot of our lifetime. So making the unconscious conscious, and then we can tap into our superconscious to guide us to the life of our dreams. It's kind of his work, but I'll go more deeply into it. But I just love that you mentioned the word intuition, because that's where we're ultimately going towards, is living a life from our intuition, which is guided by the heart, not the head. But I'll just a little bit on the solar plexus, and why this piece is like so important is that this is our third chakra, where our personality lies. And personality is a good thing when we know exactly what the personality is and choose the parts of it that we want. So making those parts conscious. And the third chakra governs our identity and our willpower. And it supports when we're feeling really good, we're super confident in who we are and our personality, and we've got strong self-esteem. And it's how when this is really balanced, we're projecting our personality onto the world, and we're just showing up, knowing who we are and what we stand for. And it's a great, even though there's a lot of like, that's where the ego is, you can have a great healthy ego, like knowing as a human, we have an ego and just owning that part of us. It's where the dysfunctional ego that can get us out of whack. But ultimately, it's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and just loving yourself for your personality and how you are. And then when it's not in harmony, or when it's not in balance, we can often feel anxious. We can feel really dissatisfied with life. We can be really unable to make decisions because we don't really know who we are or what we stand for. And yeah, just really doubt ourselves. So the goal for this session is to, as I said, get really content with like who we are, and know that like there are these parts of us that we're sort of born into. So even if it's, I'll share my core belief, which you probably would have seen in the belief system, is like, I'm not enough. And it plagues my life every single day. Like I can wake up and be like, am I good enough? Am I good enough? And as soon as I had this like, oh my God, I'm doing this because I don't feel enough, I could then have more choice. Because like I can still do something like, oh, is this good enough? And then I'll tune in like, yes, it's good enough. Great. And I can give myself a little pat on the back. I can hold my little girl, tell her she is enough, and then I just, continue on with life, as opposed to then trying to do something to be enough, to do enough, because otherwise it's a never ending battle. And ultimately all of these beliefs come from an unmet need in our childhood. And then one day we then wake up and realize, well, we can wake up and realize this stuff. And when I did, it was just like, oh my God. So I'll actually share the story. So a big thing that I had when I was younger was that I always wanted my dad to just like love and validate me. And he was very busy when I was younger. And so I didn't get that need met when I was, however old. But all of this stuff, unconscious, happens between ages 0 to 6. So at some point in that time, I felt, for whatever reason, that I hadn't been validated enough. And so my whole life, I've constantly sought validation from my dad. And I always wanted his approval for men that I dated. And when I was 18, I met like the absolute love of my life. And I was so happy. And my dad just didn't think he was smart enough. And he was just like, what's he going to amount to? And it like broke my heart. So I ended up breaking up with him. And then the next guy I met was this absolute genius who my dad loved more than anything. He was like, this guy's a genius, he's so amazing. And I ended up marrying this guy, even though I like wasn't totally in, but it was that like this person fulfills this part of me that I don't feel like I'm enough in. And my dad, like a constant thing he'd always say to me is, you're just like me. You're not that smart, but you've got an amazing personality. And so you'll always succeed in life. And so that like, I always had this thing of, I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough. And so when I found someone that was the smartest person ever, he completed me. And this was just like, yeah, I was resolving this part of me that didn't feel whole, that didn't feel complete. And so I was like, I needed that piece to feel whole as opposed to finding it within myself. And it's interesting even now that I'm actually like thinking about it, how in many ways, like my dad doesn't approve of Nico. And perhaps that's also like a karmic piece that I'm now working through of, you know, am I going to follow my heart again, or am I going to follow what my dad thinks? And yeah, I actually that's just kind of landing now anyway. But yeah, so ultimately it's being able to hold ourselves in whatever's coming up, in whatever conflict or tension is going on, that we can then be able to hold ourselves and just look at it and be like, oh wow, that's just my childhood self that's saying I'm not enough, that's saying these things, and then guide your way back to your heart is the goal. Yeah. So, and then another brief one was a similar story of when I was started like getting all into spirituality. Was I would meet all these guys and I put them on these pedestals of thinking they were super awoke and like really like, oh my God, I want to be more like that. And then if they weren't interested in me, I would think that it was because I wasn't spiritual enough. So then I would like share all these things like, oh my God, I've done so much work on myself. I've done this. And that would turn them off even more. This was all unconscious, thinking I'm not spiritual enough for this guy, that it would actually make them run for the hills. So my I'm not enough manifested itself as I'm too much, because I'd scare these people away, because all I do is share like, oh my God, I've done this and this and this and this and this. And I remember when I like first started dating Nico, was like, I thought he was this amazing guru meditation teacher. And I like, anyway, and then I started like sharing all these things. And then I was coaching with William, and William's like, I think you're doing this thing again of I'm not enough. Have you been telling him? He's just really intuitive. He's like, have you been telling him the work you've been doing? I'm like, shit, I have. And he's like, anytime you get that urge, just tell yourself you're enough and they love you. Like, you don't need the validation from any man. And then I like sat with it and I was like, oh my God, I've done that with every single guy since I left my husband. Like, all I do is talk about how much work I've done on myself. Like, who cares? I need to tell myself I'm enough to find a guy that's spiritual without me needing to do or be anything other than me. And that like was a huge turning point of then, yeah, being able to validate myself and where I'm at and not needing that source of validation from another. So anyway, is that kind of making sense? Yeah. So yeah, what's landing for you? What is anyone like having a moment of like, oh my God, that's like, I can see myself in that? Or yeah, feel free to like jump on and share.
I like what you were saying on this last part, like, oh, I realized that I've been so serious always. The first things that I go straight away on those topics. And the same, like as soon as I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, and then I have to speak about it, and then I go, and I waste so much of energy on those kind of things that I ended up not doing it. And yeah, like this is actually, yeah, I resonate so much with the things, so much. And thank you for sharing, because now I will be a bit more I will try to catch myself on the process. Yes.
Yeah. And the whole thing is awareness, catch yourself. So that the model we'll sort of use is see it, stop it, flip it. So like see the belief come up, and we'll go through them in more detail, but like, oh wow, I'm not enough. Okay, stop it, hold yourself, do whatever you need, and then flip it. Remind yourself, I am enough, I have got this, and there's nothing I need to do. Because we're just breaking that that wiring in the brain that's like, it's all conditioning. It's a pattern we've always done our whole lives based on a framework that we built when we were a child, like 0 to 6. We made up some silly belief like I'm not enough. And then we continue our entire lives until we wake up, continuing to live out some silly pattern that isn't even true. So it's about catching it. And then, you know, I've done, you know, even in NLP and stuff, it's like, let's remove that limiting belief. I think there's definitely ways to lower it and go like beyond the mind in some ways. But for me, I have found that it's easier for me to just sort of accept that that's just sometimes there and I don't need to do anything about it. But if I catch it, I can change my neural pathways to create a newer, more effective way of living. So I'm going to share this little screen. Hold on. So I'm just going to go through just a couple slides and then we'll watch the video and then go deeper into it. Because I think like I've watched that Enneagram video so many times and every time there's like more information in it. Okay, you can see that Journey to Joy. Whoop. That's, oh, come on. Yeah, you can see it?
Yeah.
Great. So this was sort of what I was mentioning with William's work, is that we have the unconscious, which is all our limiting beliefs, our stories, our programs. And these are all things that we decided when we were age 0 to 6. And if you think about it, it's actually like we needed to have, so this unconscious mind, we're born almost living out of our unconscious, and we are born not knowing anything, right? We come out as a soul, not knowing what anything is. So we're constantly trying to make sense of the world. And so we're always asking as a child, like, what is it? What is it? And then we catalog things like, oh, wow, I shouldn't, you know, touch this fire because that means burn. But every single thing and we're looking at relationships being like, oh, how is it? Oh, that's how I relate. How is it? And we're trying to understand and make sense of the world. Now, things might happen, obviously, when we're younger that, you know, our childhood self creates some kind of limitation about who and what we are, which wasn't even the intention of that person that created this, that said something to us, but it's stored in our unconscious mind. And then we become, you know, 6 years old and we develop our conscious mind, but that program is then created. And you know, even thinking about the amount of information that our brain has to comprehend is unbelievable. Like there are 400 billion bits of information that are going on that our brain has to process in any point in time, but we are only consciously aware of 2,000, right? 400 billion to 2,000, like, and those 2,000 are only what we're capable of, that we're conscious of, or that we're able to actually soak in. And so most of the filters that are going on are all based on our lived experience and what we already know to be true. And so what's amazing is that the superconscious, when we can access more information by going beyond the mind, we then have access to a lot more than 2,000 bits, and we go beyond what a lot of our limiting stories and limiting beliefs are. And so that's where the intuition comes, where you might get these like, wow, these big moments that drop in that make no sense often because they're beyond the mind. That's where like the intuition and the brilliance and genius comes, because it's not even coming from the conscious mind. It's beyond that. Anyway, but ultimately, when we want to understand what's going on in our solar plexus and like this belief, this ego, we need to really make, this is Carl Jung's quote, we need to make the unconscious conscious, or it will rule our life, and we will call it fate. So we need to see what the filters are that are going on, and then slowly, as we said, see it, stop it, flip it if it's things that are holding us back in our life. And I'll do one like simple one. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but like close down the eyes for a second. And I want you to think of the color red. And now open your eyes and see, notice how many red things you can see. And close your eyes again. Now think of the color blue. See the color blue. And now open your eyes and see how many blue things you can see. I mean, more than what you saw when you were red. Raise your hand. It's like what we're looking for is what we will find, and what we know we will see, or what we think we know, which is why it's like where we're coming from these filters is creating our reality. But we have to actually know where we're coming from, which is often unconscious. And so knowing these belief systems is so important, because like, oh my God, that's where I was coming from. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Let's change that path. Because as we said, it's like we are born into the wrong track of life. We're walking down this unconscious path using a framework of a 0 to 6-year-old as our way of life. And then it's like, no, let's flip it and let's get back on track to what we want and start to access more in our consciousness, and then access the super consciousness, our intuition, to guide us. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
That makes definitely a lot of sense.
What?
Yeah, what you've been explaining, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
It's really interesting.
And so actually, I'm going to pose a question. I'm going to share one more little story first, in terms of like getting in the framework of where potentially there are things that are holding you back from your own power. So there was once these baboons, and there was an experiment, and this scientist, he put 5 baboons inside a bath, and there was this huge pole in the bath, and he had bananas at the top. And he goes and he watches these baboons, and all of a sudden the baboons, they see the bananas and they start climbing up the pole, and then he turns the water jets on and it squirts the baboons as soon as they get to a certain point on the pole. And the baboons, they freak out and they jump back down. And then he turns it off, and he does it again. And the baboons, they go to climb up and they get sprayed by the water jets, and then they fall off. And then the next time, then the baboons get the message. They get the message, I cannot go up this pole anymore, or the water jets are going to come. And so then he decides he'll take out 3 of the baboons, and he'll replace them with 3 brand new baboons who have never had this experience before. And then the 3 new baboons, they see the bananas at the top, and they go to climb up the pole. And as they go to climb up the pole, the other baboons, they jump on them. It's just, and they're jumping on them, and they're scared. So the baboon's like, oh, what's going on? And so they just learn. They learn they shouldn't climb up the pole. And then the scientist decides he'll take out the first 2 baboons that were in the original experiment and replace it with another 2 fresh baboons. So now, not a single one of them have actually experienced these water jets. And as they go, the 2 new baboons, very excited about life, they see the bananas and they go to climb up. And the 3 baboons who had never even been sprayed by the water jet jump on the other baboons before they get there. And no one ever makes it up to the bananas, nor do they even try to go up the pole. And so my question to you, and you may want to write this down, is what are the bananas that you're maybe seeking to find or create or have, and what are the baboons in your life that may be holding you back from going after what you want?
I'm gonna read back over this one time and be like, what was I talking about? Bananas and baboons.
Baboons. Who is my baboon? What is my banana? yeah, it's more just getting clear on what you want and what may be holding you back. Actually, I might give does everyone, yeah, everyone's got something written down. Cool. I may even put it to you guys. Do you want to share? Yeah, I might put everyone in breakout rooms and you can get like just a couple minutes just to share yeah, what's come up and what's the thing that you're breaking through. What is it that you want? And yeah, just share what you wrote down. So I'll create breakout rooms. There we go. All right, creating them. So opening up, just accept your room, and yeah, just a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes each, just to share. Yeah, what your thing is. 2-3 minutes. I'll check in on your rooms so just in case we've got enough time. So they're open now. Well, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much.
You never really know with it. You're like, oh, was it enough time? Always good to ask.
No, that was good.
Yeah, it's nice to share.
It is nice to share. Yeah,
Otherwise, I feel
feels
like,
less blocked.
yeah. And also, I feel that I'm just like talking too much.
Your voice is nice. I'll listen to that.
Well, thank you.
You're not too much.
Yeah. How'd we go?
Yeah, really fun to break up. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So we'll use the breakout rooms a lot from now on. The beginning, sort of like a bit of a more inward journey, and now it's like work and sharing. But yeah, so glad you like them because we'll be using them more often. Okay, so if anyone wants to share like to the group as well, feel free to like raise your hand and you're welcome to share. Ahan, did you want to share?
No, I'm great, thank you.
Okay, so did everyone watch the Enneagram video?
Yep.
No.
Not totally missed that we need to watch that.
Okay, well, I'm going to play it now anyway, so you get the chance to watch it again. And so just watch it with an open mind and think about, well, you might see yourself in some of the characters, but just start to notice with the belief systems that it's all related. And what I love about the Enneagram is that, as this quote is, it doesn't put you in a box. It just shows you the box that you put yourself in as a child and how you can get out of it. And so we'll go a little bit deeper into what the personality types are and how these kind of play. It's not even personality type, it's a belief system that you're often playing out in your life. And there's lots of strengths that go with it, but then there's the downside of, it's a silly belief that you don't have to choose. So let's watch it and I'll fast forward the beginning.
While it's fun to take those quizzes to figure out which of our favorite film and TV characters we are, myself and those closest to me on a surprisingly profound level is the Enneagram. Now, according to Enneagram theory, our personalities began as coping strategies we developed as children to feel safe and secure in the face of trauma and stress. So one way to think of it would be to see our personalities as armor we grew to protect ourselves from threats we perceived in our childhood environments. Only we still wear that armor today, which can dictate how we react to stress and conflict, and even how we interact with each other. While this may have helped us get through our childhoods, it could be the source of even more pain and conflict as we continue to suppress our true selves as adults. It's pretty depressing. This is what makes the Enneagram different from other personality typing systems. It doesn't focus on whether or not a type is extroverted, intellectual, or creative, though it does claim that certain personalities are more prone to those behaviors than others. The Enneagram is more concerned with what drives those behaviors than with the behaviors themselves. Needless to say, the Enneagram's a lot more complex than if you like mayonnaise and a clean desk than you're Toby Flenderson. But this got me thinking, what are the Enneagram types of characters in film? Would knowing their types help me understand the characters more and see them in a new light? Do their motivations, strengths, fears, and weaknesses match up with those of the 9 types? Well, after investing all of my time last year researching the Enneagram and watching an overwhelming amount of character-driven movies in preparation of doing a 10-part video series where I explore how characters in film portray each of the 9 types in depth, the answer is yes, definitely yes. But before I can show you everything that I found in this huge project and how the Enneagram works, I first need to make some things clear. First, the Enneagram is not scientifically driven nor based in clinical psychology. But then again, neither is MBTI's 16 personalities. However, it has proven itself to be very accurate and useful in therapy and personal development for many people, including myself. Think of it more as a neat tool for personal growth rather than the end-all be-all scientific model of human psychology and all of its mysteries, because it's not that, nor was it even made with that intention. It's just a very helpful visualization for how personalities work that has made an undeniable positive impact on many people's lives. And as it has been the case for many others, it's helped me come to some profound realizations about myself, as well as help me heal some childhood wounds I never came to terms with. The second and final clarification I want to make is that just because I use a villain as an example of what a type looks like when unhealthy doesn't mean that you or anyone else who is also that type is as morally depraved and evil like that character. I'm simply saying that that character matches the description for that type when extremely psychologically unhealthy. I'm not trying to label or limit anyone to being a villain from a summer blockbuster because that would be stupid. I'm just exploring the Enneagram through fictional characters to see how they exhibit the traits, fears, and motivations of their types. Alrighty, now with that out of the way, I'm going to go into how the Enneagram works. And what better way to do that than through iconic characters? Yay!
So now
So
we'll
what
see
does
the
this symbol mean?
characters.
Well,
Oh.
you'll notice that there are 9 corners or points, each representing a different personality type.
Okay, he jumps in.
Starting with type 1s, we have the reformers. Type 1s greatly value integrity and have a strong passion for the fulfillment of their ideals and the pursuit of high standards.
I could do this all day.
Ones can feel like there is something inherently wrong with either themselves or with the world around them, so they strive to satisfy their internal critic by restraining their instincts, being good, and doing things correctly. However, this can be done in perfectionistic ways, making them seem critical and judgmental to others.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Type 2s, the helpers,
So that one is the perfectionist. I need to be perfect, is that number one.
tend to be incredibly caring, generous, and hardworking in the service of others with a focus on relationships and gaining approval.
100 tickets. I'm not going to write 100 tickets. I'm going to write 200 tickets.
However, they can use their helpfulness as a strategy to get their needs met as they continue to repress feelings that they're in conflict with. This can lead to them becoming so self-sacrificial that they forget to take care of themselves.
I do this time after time after time. I do all this shit for other people. And then I wake up and I'm empty. I have nothing.
Type 3s, the
So that one is I'm not worthy, is that's how that the helper shows up, because they're unconsciously feeling like I'm not worthy enough. And so they have to help everyone in order to gain that love that they're constantly seeking.
achievers fear being worthless, so they pursue achievement and recognition with a strong competitive drive to feel valuable, cementing themselves as hard workers and social chameleons.
A man can change his stars. And I won't spend the rest of my life as nothing.
However, over-identifying themselves with what they do and creating an image of success in the eyes of others causes 3s to lose touch with their feelings, who they really are, and what actually matters to them, leaving them feeling empty.
I think I have this thing where I need everybody to think I'm the greatest. And if they aren't completely knocked out and dazzled and kind of intimidated by me, then I don't feel good about myself.
Type 4s, the
So that one's obviously I'm not good enough, shows up as someone that's constant. Well, it was kind of obvious in there, but they're the achiever because they don't feel like they're good enough. So constantly like, I got to keep doing more, doing more, doing more. So it shows up as the achiever, but actually the unconscious belief is I'm not good enough.
individualists are said to be the most introspective and emotionally intuitive of the 9 types and often focus their attention on their own feelings, the feelings of others, and authentic self-expression. However, they also feel as though there's something missing in their lives, something that they see as somehow unavailable but ideal, which can lead to them over-identifying with their negative feelings and dwell in melancholy.
Il est brisé. Il est brisé. Il est seul.
Type 5s, the investigators,
So that's one I don't belong. So that's how you can connect that one if you resonated with that.
are analytical, curious, and spend a lot of time collecting knowledge and information as a way to conquer their fear and feel safe in a world full of unknowns, all while maintaining an emotional distance from others.
The Book of the Invisible Sun, Codex Imperium, Key of Solomon. You finished all of this? Yep.
5s greatly value autonomy and self-sufficiency and fear being incompetent and having emotional demands placed on them, causing them to detach from their feelings and over-identify with their thinking.
I need to do something to take my mind off her. Easy enough, except I need an idea.
Type 6s,
So that one's I need to control.
the loyalists, are said to be the most fearful type on the Enneagram, resulting in 3 different ways 6s may react to their fear. The more phobic 6s escape their fear by making close connections with others. Other 6s cope with their fear by following authorities and ideologies. And more counterphobic 6s escape their fear by being strong and intimidating.
It's me, Will. Remember we went to kindergarten together.
But no matter the subtype, 6s are alert and watchful and focus on detecting threats in their environment. However, their strong sense of fear can make it hard for them to trust their own thoughts, causing them to sometimes come across as anxious and paranoid.
You feel a break? Sometimes you can't tell because fluid is rushing to the area. Now, any rushing fluid, are you woozy? How many stripes do I have?
Type 7s, the enthusiast.
So that one is I can't trust myself, others, or the world. And can often also come as I'm insignificant or I'm invisible. It sort of shows up both in the trust piece because they either become like really untrusting or I can't see. So I need to do something bigger to become seen. So they become these like often like the terrorists, so like people that actually feel invisible in the world. So they do things to be seen and they don't trust the world. So it kind of shows up there. The loyalist or it's the terrorist. The 6 can also be that.
Are fun, spontaneous, and quick-witted, often avoiding unpleasant feelings by focusing on what's pleasurable by keeping the mood upbeat and enjoyable.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
However, they can do this to escape the pain and anxiety that boredom brings them. While their fear of being trapped can fuel positive, quick thinking, it can also cause them to act out in self-indulgent and excessive ways in their search for pleasure and happiness.
We want to be free to do what we want to do. Yeah. We want to get loaded. Yeah. And we want to have a good time.
Type 8's the challenge.
And that one is, I don't have the capacity, is often the enthusiast, because they're so enthusiastic about everything, but actually underneath it is, I don't have the capacity. So they create things that look like, okay, if I do this, and this, then I don't have enough time. Then I can blame other things underneath it.
Are confident, assertive, and fiercely independent, expressing a need to be strong and go against power as they focus their attention on control, all while being fearlessly willing to confront others and protect those they care about.
Get away from her, you bitch!
However, their impulsive tendency to take what they want can also lead to them becoming domineering, aggressive, and unwilling to experience vulnerable feelings.
You're an asshole. Sue me.
And finally, type 9.
And that one was, I'm powerless. So the challenges are people that unconsciously feel like they're powerless. And so they exude power in the world because of this unconscious belief that's going on.
The peacekeepers are easygoing, laid back, and like to go with the flow as they focus their attention on others, their environment, avoiding conflict, and achieving peace and harmony.
We got a hooker.
But this can be because they lack a clear sense of themselves and deeply fear conflict, meaning they repress their own desires and replace them with the agendas of others just to keep the peace, causing them to grow increasingly frustrated for not going after what they really want in life.
Am I not supposed to have what I want? What I need?
Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't
So that's it. And then miss that one. The peacekeeper is actually someone who believes unconsciously, I'm not allowed to be capable. So because they can't be capable, they then go after and they just please everyone else around them. And they don't actually ever really say what they want because they're not allowed it. And so they just make everyone else kind of, oh, we'll just do what everyone else wants. So that's kind of how the Enneagram ties into belief systems. It's just easier to see it through a personality type and then piece it together. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, oh, hold on. Yes, fun and simple. Great. So let's sit with actually maybe type in the chat, which Enneagram, actually use either. They're the same thing. It's just framed. It's an easy way to see it through the characters. You might be able to see yourself more in that. I know for me, when I look at I'm not good enough people, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I finally see and know myself. So which type do you identify with? Actually, no, let's go back to the chat rooms. Oh, yeah, Penina.
Do you have like a summary of each one, like little dot points? Because that would be super helpful for me.
Yeah, so in the I can share my screen again. I felt like I was 2, 4, 6. So if you go more into the Enneagram, which there's like so much on the Enneagram, you can do courses on it. I've read books on it. Like you can get so deep into it. And the good thing to know is that it's really not about which one. It's just a tool for self-awareness, but they're all interconnected. So the the way that it's drawn in the Enneagram, hold on, I'm just going to show it to you on here, is
you show it at the end with all the names.
Yeah, so if you keep watching the video, the 2, 8, the 2, 4, see how they're connected, 2, 8, and 5. What numbers did you say you were like, Robbie?
2, 4, and 6, I felt.
Okay, 2, 4, 6. So how it actually works, if you want more like detail, is that in low stress you go to the left, and in high stress you go to the right. So for me, I'm a 3, and in low stress I become this peacemaker, and when I'm in high stress I stop trusting people. So it's how it's actually drawn, how it's connected. And anyway, then you've got wings. It's a whole thing. So you don't need to know the ins and outs, but more which ones you primarily deal with is helpful, and then you can watch more of this video and you'll get a deeper understanding of it. But I just like to see like core ones, what comes up, and it can be sometimes like all of them, because you're also taking on, my mum's an 8, so I carry a little bit of my mum's 8, and my dad's a 3, so you can go like round in circles on it. The idea is to be able to see it, as we've said, stop it, flip it. So just bring it into the conscious mind to see, oh, okay, that's that belief, cool. I'm going to sit with it now and not do anything, not try to resolve it. Because the whole problem is, it's when conflict comes up, that's when our personality is triggered. It's like this childhood wound of, oh my God, my identity is like, I've got to prove who I am, or I've got to prove myself in whatever it is, or I've got to prove that I need to be validated in this moment. I've got to prove that I'm worthy. That then that's what creates the problem of us staying in our identity and not going for what we want in our life. And so it's really about the awareness, as opposed to saying, I am this. But in this case, just share with your person which ones you identify. And it can be a lot of 2, a lot of, 2, 5, 6, whatever the numbers are. And just share, share which ones are coming up for you and where this shows up in your life. Don't know if that was actually helpful showing that, but cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or is that just more confusing? Okay, cool. So let's go back to the breakout rooms, and everyone clear on the instruction? Yeah, cool. Where this shows up and how, which ones you identify with. So a few minutes, 3 minutes each, and I'll open up the chat rooms. And I'll give you a new partner, because it's fun to meet someone else. Okay, opening up. Hey, Nix, hope you're enjoying this. People are just coming back from their breakout rooms. And if you want to share, you can share with me a little later, once you've watched this. How'd you go?
Okay. I always feel like a robot when that comes on.
This being recorded. How'd you guys go?
Good.
Yeah. Do you feel clear on the things?
Yeah.
It's
Great. And
nice as well to hear that we have different ones too, even though they all sort of stem from the same thing.
What do you mean?
Like, don't they all come from fear?
Yeah, well, I guess in a way, because it's like, that's how we're trained as a child, like what to be fearful of, I guess, in terms of our survival, because that's the instinct that's coming up. It's the same, our belief system and our survival instincts, they're triggered when we're in conflict in some way, because we feel like we're going to die.
Yes.
Yeah. Would love to hear from anyone who wants to share what came up. What did you learn?
Well, Hannah actually just posed me a question 2 seconds before we finished. It was like, how can you have both of the things, like the thing that you are and the thing that you're trying to hide, which is just like, oh my God, how do you do that? Because it's such a conflict. Like my main one I was talking about was I'm a peacekeeper, and I do that by not showing my fullest self and like the positive sides of me in order to not hurt someone or like make them upset. And it's like, how can I not make someone upset but also be able to shine? Like, how do you, I mean, with some people you definitely can, and it's not going to hurt them, but with those specific relationships, that is just like, it seems to me as if it's unachievable to do both. which I'm sure I could figure out some way to make it.
I know you can. What if you showing up gave them the confidence for them to show up, which was ultimately going to be the thing that would make them the most happy.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, now you say that has come up a few times in our relationship, but I guess it's being sensitive to when that wouldn't be helpful, maybe, but being able to have it sometimes. I don't know if that's too much of a compromise.
I think you know the answer. And, the Peacekeeper one, it's such a there's so many beautiful things about it, and it's still about just owning it's more about when the tension comes up that's like, here's my need to be a peacekeeper, or like, oh my God, I'm feeling like I need to save someone in this moment or make everything okay. But then you sit with it and you're like, is this what I really want right now for me? And then there's choice in it. So it's having the awareness so that you can then choose to operate out of that. Because like sometimes I know that, when I go and sign up for another course, I could say, oh, it's because I'm not good enough. Oh, I am good enough. I don't need to do any work on myself because I'm perfect. Like that's not functional either. So it actually gives me more choice of like, why am I doing this? Oh, it's because I actually really want to learn NLP for XYZ reason, not because I feel like I need to do that in order to have something else. So it's checking your intention for why you're doing something when you can see that you may be operating out of your belief system.
Yeah, wow.
So it's just about choice. Yeah, I think that's the point I want to make, because it's not about saying, fuck this, I'm not going to be a peacemaker anymore, I'm going to be bitch to everyone. That's not it. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm doing that again. Right now, I'm going to choose not to. And in this case, put myself first, because this person isn't even nice to me, and they're not even, they don't even serve in this case. Yeah. Anything else?
Hey.
Hey, Han.
Yeah, the awareness and choice. So the one that stays busy is one I definitely resonate with, and that awareness is there. And even, it was really in my face when I've been unwell and I have had to stop, and that's no longer an excuse to take my focus away, or and just the simple act of being able to resonate with it, be aware of it, and then make a more informed decision.
Yeah.
Opposed to being lost in the belief.
Yeah. Yeah. So the enthusiast is the one you resonate with. I'm not allowed to be capable. Yeah.
Right. And the one, I couldn't remember which one it was, where it's you are pretending to be a perfectionist, but it's actually covering up I'm not worthy, I think.
So there's a perfectionist one, I need to be perfect. And then there's I'm unworthy, which comes up as someone that's the helper. So someone I'll show it actually. So Panita, to your question before, I'll share with you it's also in your workbooks. And has everyone got the workbook?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in there, and you can see that it goes more deeply into the beliefs. And there's also an extra process that if you want to go into belief systems stuff, it's in there. We won't go through it together, but I just wanted to give you another resource that I've used that I thought was quite helpful.
Thank you.
But here, the beliefs of I'm unworthy, which shows up as someone who's really seeking love and approval. So they're the helper. They go out there. So in order to strategies that they're trying to overcome unconsciously this belief, but they're actually perpetuating it. So what they do is they go and seek approval, and they have imposter syndrome, and they blame others, because actually underneath it is I don't feel worthy. So that's what they do instead. So all these are kind of, I can read them, I'll read them all out anyway. So I'm not good enough, but that's like my fundamental belief. I'm seeking wholeness. So I'll look for things to help me feel whole. So in the case with my partner, I was like, I'm not whole as I am. Therefore, I need someone else to complete this piece in order for me to feel good enough. So enough is never enough. It's always future orientated, always rushing ahead, lots of shoulds. I should do this in order to get that. Compulsive trying. I don't belong. those people are, trying to understand who they are. And so what they do that is they'll either exaggerate behavior, be really weird or different because they think they don't belong. So they create a sense of not belonging already. They'll discriminate against others in order to not belong, and they'll try hard to be likable. And again, these are all unconscious things that you don't know that they're doing, but it's showing up in these dysfunctional ways. So then I need to control that was the number 5, the overthinker, and they'll control others, themselves, or situations, or they'll limit what they do so they don't get overwhelmed. They'll avoid taking risks, and then often like so focused on the negative because they need to control everything. Then there's the trust people. So I can't trust myself or others, and they often are seeking this sense of safety in the world, and they'll cheat. They'll often try to do it on their own. They'll feel misunderstood. They test people and things. So you're seeing this a lot with COVID at the moment. A lot of the people who have trust stuff, this is coming. I can't trust the government, and they'll just blame a lot. I'm invisible. Comes up. These are people that, seeking safety as well. This kind of comes into the number 6 as well. So they'll be detached and they never ask for what they want. Is this helpful for Anita?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, nothing's like, yeah.
Cool. And then the other 6, I don't have the capacity, which is the number 7. So seeking love. Actually, not sure if that's seeking love and approval. They'll gather resources. They're constantly doing so much because they don't feel they actually have the capacity. So it shows up in that way. They'll get more cars, they'll get more money, but nothing's ever enough. I still don't have enough time. They can get overwhelmed, they can overcommitted, and often have FOMO. There is a right way. These are people that are trying to figure it all out. They're very process oriented, often to the extreme. There's a way things are, seeking a sense of identity. So they'll just constantly soak up all the information, read it all, need to know it all. Then I'm powerless. Those are the ones like Donald Trumps of the world, playing the victim. They'll blame others. They'll assign power outside of themselves, manipulate others, and collude. You'll see that a lot with power. It's like get other people's opinions, get them to agree. I'm not allowed to be capable is the number 9. So they have the peacemaker. And so what they do to perpetuate is raise the goalpost constantly of what they want, underachieve compared to what their real capabilities are, avoid challenging situations, lots of goods, and a lack of commitment. And then I need to be perfect. This one's pretty obvious, but perfectionists exist. They think that and something that needs to be. They never begin because it's too hard. It has to be perfect, compulsive pickiness, and excessive preparation, always looking for salvation. So it's quite a lot in there. Does that feel like you can get clear on which one? Great. So I forgot to do this. So this is something that I just made up now, and I'm kind of excited to see how it works, because it just it's based on something that I'd done, but I've adjusted it a little bit. So the idea for this week is really about being able to catch yourself in the belief system. So having the awareness and then see it, stop it, flip it throughout, because our belief systems are creating emotions or thoughts, or when our belief system is triggered, it's because something has happened. There's some kind of problem. And so how it shows up, and this is what Jazz was saying earlier, it's like a fear or something comes up. And so we act as if we're going to die. And so things that happen, there's a problem. And so it creates these thoughts and feelings, which then our beliefs create our thoughts and feelings, which then we take action on, which then leads to results. So we want to shortcut this system that's being created so that we get a different result other than staying in our identity. Because instead we want to come back to our heart and realize that we're operating from this dysfunctional pattern, and then move in a different direction that's more aligned with what we want. So this model that I'm keen for people to try out is to notice, and actually I'll give you an opportunity to do it. So to think of what's a problem that you've recently had, and then go through it. What thoughts did I have? What feelings did I have? And notice if there was an underlying assumption related to the beliefs, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So when we can start to see that our problems are often linked to our childhood wounds, we can then make better choices. And if you can watch yourself in this, you'll notice that you self-sabotage according to self. You can sometimes self-sabotage by operating from this belief system. So then you ask yourself here, how did I resolve this assumption, or what was the end result? So what was your coping strategy for dealing with this? And then what did you create as a result? And if you can start to see how these patterns are not serving you, you'll be able to choose a different way. So perhaps think of a problem that you've recently had, and then take yourself through this process. And let's actually do it as, I'm going to share I'll share that screen again so you can see it, and maybe write it down if you'd like. Oh.
I didn't see anything before. It was totally white.
Yeah, it was just blank.
Good to know. All right, let's share.
I thought you were going to reveal it to us.
You gave everyone the magic pen and not me.
Is that sharing now?
It says has started screen sharing.
Oh yeah, lovely. That's it.
Okay.
Conflict deconstruction.
Conflict deconstruction.
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'll share with you, this is actually in William's book that I love this story. I won't go into too much of the detail, but yeah, so this guy, this friend of William's, and he talks about in Natural Seekers of Success, is that I'm just going to do it from memory. It's something like this. He had this friend called Phil, and Phil went to apply for to get this permit of his house done. Him and his wife bought a house, and they wanted to get some extensions done, and William and this guy Phil applied for this permit at the same time. And Phil's application actually got knocked back. And instead of Phil, and so in that moment, what was the problem was he was so angry because he was, let's say it was, I need to control came up as his thing, or I don't trust government. One of those beliefs came up for him. And instead of him actually being with the problem, which is, oh, my application is not fulfilled, I should figure out why it's not fulfilled. Instead, his whole identity came up, and he started to then tell everyone. He started colluding and saying, oh my God, I'm so angry, so let's go through this. The problem was his thing got rejected. His thoughts were, this is so fucking unfair. I'm so pissed off. This is, I feel like the government has this thing against me, and I'm so angry. So his underlying assumption is, I can't trust others, or I can't control this situation. And it's coming from some childhood wound that he's not aware of. So how did he resolve this assumption? He actually then went around and started colluding with everyone, finding out who else had their things rejected. And then he started going on these campaigns against the government, and he started to sign petitions. And all of a sudden, he's no longer in his end result of what he really wants, which is just to get this permit approved. Instead, he's fighting for his whole identity that's anti-government, that's anti-permits, that's free rights, and totally on the wrong track of life. And so the end result is that he never got this permit done. He never got the application. Instead, he's now fighting for human rights. And so you can see how sometimes if we're not aware, a small problem that can be easily resolved through a conversation or through doing something small can actually lead to us being totally in our the wrong track, and we resolve it we think we're resolving our identity. So here's kind of the coping strategy. If we can catch ourselves in the assumption part, where is this coming from, we can then redirect ourselves onto a more effective path in life. So is that clear how you can kind of watch yourself? Okay, so think about a problem that you've had. And again, I'm going to give you, let's do 3 minutes. Hopefully it's enough time to just talk through it with someone, because they'll ask you the question and you can go through the process. Any questions? You've got them written down?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Is it clear?
So when you talk about the problem, what do you mean? Like anything in general?
Yeah, maybe a problem that you recently had.
Okay.
Yeah, and then talk about what happened. This is in the past, a problem you had, and notice if your belief came up. So this is really the idea of like, oh shit, I did that. This is how I resolved it. This is what happened, and just see if it works. It's going to work. I'm holding that in. All right, so I'll just put you back in the rooms that you were just in before. So opening up the room, and 3 minutes each.
Okay, robot.
You're back.
We have such good shares.
Yeah.
Mm.
How did the process work?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Got straight to the point.
Yeah.
We're flipping.
Open heart.
Love it. Yes.
We're flipping like pancakes.
Flip.
But also having that realization, like someone feeding back, oh, you actually had flipped that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
I didn't see it like that, you know? Yeah.
Great. Yeah, Hannah had the same thing as well. I just joined a different breakout room. Like, yeah, I am flipping it. I'm on the journey.
Yeah.
Great. How'd we go?
Great.
Cool. So let's end just with like a couple shares, maybe even in the chat. What was something that you learned about yourself today that you're going to take into next week or the week ahead in terms of see it, stop it, flip it? And it can be like with Hannah's share, like you're doing it and I'm I've got this. Because yeah, this is really about finding the things that are holding us back. And we're all waking up and we're all waking up more and more every day, which is so great. So if you're already doing it, it's awesome. And now here's some more little things that you can question everything. That we can, I lost myself in my own joke. Catch ourselves this week, have more awareness and just continue to reclaim our power. Because it's just a thought. It's an infantile system that can be sometimes playing out of it. And other times we've got the awareness, we can catch ourselves and we don't have that crazy argument. And for that, like, give yourself a tap on the back. Trusting my journey. I don't need others' approval. Once the awareness is there, assess and choose. Exactly. Yeah, it's all about bringing the unconscious. Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our life and we will call it fate. So let's just bring everything into the conscious mind and see it and then decide we have the choice. So this come back to my love of myself when feeling misunderstood. Yes. Practicing. Yes, yes, yes. And on that practicing note, the homework for this week, or the homework, which is in the workbook, is just about see it, stop it, flip it, and to see yourself catching things and like really give yourself like a well done self, like actually like honor and like cheer yourself on when you catch something, because it's all about rewiring the brain. And once we create these new neural pathways that are towards what we want, we start moving in that direction. And it's like intuition and our heart is guiding us to a far better place than where the mind is and where those old beliefs are. Otherwise, we'll just continue to create what we've always done. But let's continue to pave an even better way forward. Perhaps we can voice note when we catch something. Love it, Han. Yeah. Send it in the chat, being like, got it. Flipping pancakes all week long.
Sometimes I actually, for probably these last couple of years, I tap myself on my leg.
Oh, yeah.
And I say to myself, you're doing all right, kiddo.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, you know, like I don't always remember it, but when I do, I go, you know, I catch myself because I need to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually sometimes even say things out loud like, nailed it, you know, like
True, we need to congratulate ourselves more often.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
especially
who's
like,
doing it, you know?
Yeah. I feel like I'm always shoveling it out, but I need to give it to myself as well. Like, you're doing so well.
So let's celebrate each other all this week.
Yeah.
Pancake sign. Continue to be as conscious as it can be and grow from there, being patient and loving towards myself. Compassion. Love it. Well, thank you all for such a great session. Thank you everyone for arriving on time. And as a result, we're only 7 minutes over, which is a great result. And next week, we're going to do it's going to be a little bit and something at the beginning, and then we're going to be moving into the heart, which is all about play. So we're doing my favorite thing in the world, which is an online ecstatic dance. So feel free to bring a friend along if you'd like for them to join in, because it's really fun having more people on there and you can bring someone into the journey. You can either have them dancing with you at home, or you can just invite them to the Zoom room. And we will, if you want, and if you have ceremonial cacao and you want to make a cacao before, it's a really, really nice thing to do with it. I'll send you all the recipe if you want to use my secret recipe. And yeah, we'll have a little ceremony and just play and connect to that, because this was all about the ego and coming out of the personality in a way, and then the goal is to move in towards the heart. So it's how do we open up, how do we play more, feel more joy, and we're going to be doing that all together next week, and I'm super excited. And maybe Amma, you'll come over and we can do it together, because I'll be in Sydney. Great. Dancing together in Sydney, if whoever's in the same places and want to dance together, that's always fun too.
Can I quickly ask, what part of your body is the solar plex chakra in, or is that?
It's in your womb space, just above. Oh, so no, your belly, like your belly, between your belly and your womb. That's kind of the area.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
It's the color yellow. So if you ever want to kind of connect with it as well, go down and just like picture the color yellow, feel it lighting up your whole body, and be a nice thing to meditate on. All right. Well, beautiful women. I will see you all next week, and let's celebrate each other for flipping.
Yeah. And safe travels on your trip.
Yeah, drive safe.
I will.
Okay, bye everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye.